I think that the answers were chosen because of
Okay, put it down.
The University Student Congress voted to send a resolution to their counterparts at the state capitol, outlining their objections to raising the minimum age on drinking 3.2 beer in Oklahoma. The bill, if the Senate and House can iron out a few differences and the governor signs it, would raise the beer drinking age to 19. The Student Congress didn't think that was in the best interest of the student body, and they felt it was inconsistent with other state laws regarding age.
They're saying, well, you 18-year-olds are not old enough, you are not adult enough to drink this watered-down 3.2 beer, but yes, you're adult enough to go to prison for drinking this 3.2.
Other students objected that national statistics on traffic deaths caused by teenage alcohol abuse may not reflect Oklahoma's statistics. But whatever their objections, the vote was overwhelming in favor of passing them on to state leaders. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 in Norman.
A beautiful girl walking along on a dark street is an invitation to be attacked in many cities. Unfortunate, yes, but a fact that many people only accept after it's too late. Being assaulted is not just a woman's worry. Nowadays, everyone has an equal chance of becoming a victim if he or she is not careful. Oklahoma City's Crime Prevention Unit is out speaking to groups on what to do and not to do if ever threatened. Sergeant Tiny Miller told a group of students some people are not using common sense. And Sergeant Miller says getting away from an attacker should be your main priority.
Again, it doesn't make any difference the time of day nor the day. If you're in that car, make sure every one of those doors are locked so that a person cannot come up and try to, get into your car.
Sometimes passive resistance has worked to scare away a would-be mugger. For example, faking a heart attack. Miller feels many attackers get nervous when their victims may die on them. All it takes is a little acting.
So I would clutch my chest and I go,
Summertime is a prime season for purse snatching. A lot of women become easy prey, and Miller picked me as a volunteer to demonstrate.
there's no way. Okay, Ed, come get it. Now, see how it spins me? Okay, now, see, I could have, if I hadn't let go.
So how is a woman to protect her purse? By holding on to it a different way.
Okay, I see him coming. Okay.
Police encourage all citizens to find out when the crime prevention seminar is in your neighborhood and try to attend. Ed Stewart, Action 4, the Foster Essence Vortex School.
The 19-year-old victim was pronounced dead at the scene shortly after midnight. The circumstances surrounding his death are still being investigated, but according to people who saw the accident, the young man was involved in a fight in front of a 7-Eleven before being struck down by a passing car.
They was fighting, man, and that guy, one old guy, hit him and knocked him out in the street. And while he was trying to get up, by the time he got up, a car come by and just hit him, and it was right up there where them flares starting and drug him all the way down here.
Police seem to think the victim was riding in the pickup with the people he was fighting with, and after the brawl, they simply went off and left him, not realizing he was then hit by a car. At this time, authorities are considering the death accidental and don't anticipate charges being filed. The name of the victim is being withheld pending notification of nearest relatives. Carol Lambert, Action 4 in Southwest Oklahoma City.
The helicopter was apparently flying west-southwest when the tail section cracked off and fell into a wheat field northwest of Hinton. The chopper managed to stay aloft another 100 yards before the rotor flew off and the craft slammed to the ground, engulfed in flames.
I heard that helicopter go over and it pretty loud, a little bit I heard sound like an explosion. I looked up and I seen the tail section go east and then a big old black smoke.
With helicopter parts and debris scattered through the wheat field, the Highway Patrol blocked off the wreckage until FAA investigators arrived about 3 hours after the crash. Their job is to figure out how and why the chopper crashed. There are no obvious answers, only a smoldering heap of rubble wrapped around 3 bodies. The victims, all employees of GHK Oil Company, owned by the prominent Robert Hefner family of Oklahoma City. A company spokesperson says none of the Hefners were aboard the helicopter, a Bell 222 owned by Galaxy Aviation of Oklahoma City. The FAA investigation will continue for several days, but speculation right now says the engine blew up for some reason, causing the tail section and rotor to break away from the nosediving craft. Larry Audis, Action 4 near Hinton.
For a month now, ERA supporters have stood silently in front of the Capitol, wearing banners representing the states that have not passed the amendment. Oklahoma Senate turned it down, even though Oklahoma's leadership in government supports it. The state of Florida has already decided to call a special session. Illinois and North Carolina are considering it. And so Ruth Adams with the ERA Countdown campaign wants Oklahoma to give it another try. She says the 3 months since its defeat here have made a difference for the ERA.
So we feel like that there indeed is still hope until June 30th rolls around, that there is still time to get more constituents in touch with their legislators, because we are finding, continue to find, that the support is there, that the polls that have been run in this state by news media people and professional organizations continue to show that the majority of the people who know anything at all about the amendment do support it.
So we will continue to see the ERA supporters standing silently in front of the Capitol. But there is something that is not in their favor, and that is that this is an election year, and many lawmakers would rather that issue not come up for a vote at all. They feel a yes or no vote could hurt their campaign. Timing is everything in politics. That's why these ERA supporters are making one last push before their time runs out. Bella Shaw, Action 4 at the state capitol.
if we're prohibited from introducing this system, I think it will be a very clear signal to the taxpayers of this state that we're not really upset with corruption in government, we're really not upset with waste in government, that we're going to essentially permit things to continue as they have in the past. I have no choice, given the urgency of this matter, but to encourage every Oklahoma taxpayer who is concerned about waste and corruption in government and who wants to see it brought to an end, to contact their elected representative and ask them to vote against House Bill 1834 as it is presently written.
The Office of the Drug Enforcement Administration stays busy even though agents keep a low profile, so low that Agent Mel Ashton could not be photographed because of ongoing undercover investigations. Ashton was supposed to be transferred to the East Coast where drug traffic is heavy, but Oklahoma has its share of illegal drug activity.
We're talking about people that deal pounds of cocaine, that deal multi-thousands of quaaludes, that deal multi-thousand pounds of marijuana, that deal large quantities of dangerous drugs such as Dilaudid and Demerol.
Ashton was able to convince his superiors he needed to stay in Oklahoma. The possibility of more agents leaving the state would have been increased if Ashton left. Because of major drug busts like this one, the agency says if anything, it needs more manpower in Oklahoma. Ashton says illegal drug sales goes beyond big business. It's more like a national epidemic. Ed Stewart, Action 4 in downtown Oklahoma City.
Workers at the Southside Sewage Treatment Plant in Midwest City put in a full day. The plant is having to process more sewage than it was originally designed to take. City Council members Dorothy Jo Zachary and Daphne Andrews have said the city's sewage and water problems are due to poor planning by City Manager Irving Frank. But today, Frank received an important vote of confidence. Mayor Dave Herbert said Zachary and Andrews don't fully appreciate how complex the problem really is.
The new members on the council need to study the long-term ramifications of the problem. I've spent a lot of years in the business world, and I've seen a lot of people function in administrative positions, and I think Irving does as good a job as I've ever seen.
City Council members Zachary and Andrews disagree. They say there's been an unnecessary delay in the expansion at the city's Northside plant. The original plan for this facility was approved 6 years ago. Frank says the delays aren't his fault. He says the Environmental Protection Agency keeps changing building standards. But Frank says the city must meet these standards, since 75% of the funding for the $20 million plant will come from the feds.
I don't think at this point we even have local dollars enough to build to this higher standard, nor could we afford the treatment. So that's just one of the things that we've kind of been wrestling with throughout this process.
The final decision about whether to keep Frank as city manager belongs to the city council. The arguments about his future could make this city council chamber the hottest show in town. Bill Ross, Action 4 in Midwest City.
Proponents of the project had asked the federal government to build the facility in McAlester. The center, like this one in California, would house between 2,000 and 5,000 illegal aliens awaiting deportation out of the country. Project backers figured the facility would help solve their city's chronic unemployment problem. But opponents figured that the city already had one prison. They said McAlester needed to attract private industry, not government projects. A vote on the proposal was set for next month, but the Justice Department now says it has removed McAlester from consideration for the site. That news didn't change many opinions.
I don't understand the reasoning, but I'm dissatisfied that we didn't get it.
I don't particularly think we need it here myself. I've been here, lived here in one place 45 years, and I haven't seen it would do any good at all.
Well, I don't know how everybody in McAlester feels about it, but I don't see we should be allowed to vote on it, on what we want personally. I think we should still be, I'm for it.
I just think we have enough here to handle with the prison being here and everything. I just don't think it's going to be for the betterment of McAlester at all.
So you're happy with today's
I'm happy with today's decision, a whole lot.
The deportation center debate has divided this town for the past year or so. Now that the Justice Department has taken that decision out of these people's hands, it's time, as one old-timer put it, for this town to reunite. Scott Wallace, Action 4 in downtown McAlester.
It really is helpful because if you have to do surgery or something like that, it's gonna be nothing but beneficial if you've seen something before, and it's something that's strange, that's not in books.
Why are Kenneth Rose and Craig Lotz carrying a ladder down the main street in Crescent? They're getting ready to give the town some good news. Rose and Lotz, like all the people in town, are doing their part in the town's efforts to build a new community center. More than $100,000 has been raised so far. The town's goal is $125,000, and the money barometer keeps getting higher and higher. The money has been raised in a variety of ways. These women have spent long hours making candy for Mother's Day. Other town residents have sold baked goods, or worked at rummage sales, or helped prepare things for a dog show and fun fair this Saturday. The chairman of the fundraising committee is Clifford Mapes. He spent a lot of time drawing up plans for the community building. It'll be the home of the Senior Citizens Lunch Program and will be available for use by all the town's civic organizations. Mapes says everybody's taking part.
We are going to do the majority of it by volunteer labor. That seems to bring a community a little closer together when they're working as a group.
It takes a lot of money to build a community center, but the people in Crescent are ready for the challenge. If all goes well, by August 1st, there will be a community center right here. But it won't just be a building, it'll be a monument to the community spirit here in Crescent. Bill Ross, Action 4 in Crescent, Oklahoma.
This is the second year that state Republicans and conservative Democrats have bonded together to bog down the system. Last year it worked, but this year the leadership has said no compromise and no tax cut. The coalition wants the cuts and is blocking the emergency clause on appropriations measures to make their point. With the clause, funds will be available at the head of the fiscal year. Without it, they won't be available until 90 days after the legislature adjourns, leaving many agencies operating for several months penniless.
that we intend to continue turning down all appropriations emergency clauses until we get some movement on this tax cut.
But the Democrats are tired of the tactic.
And it's ridiculous. So I get over and fight your fight for you, and now you come in with some business about a tax cut or something like that and mess up the tightest, best budgeted, most conservative appropriation bill that we've got.
The impasse could hurt the state, but the minority leaders say they will budge if the Democrats do.
And I think it's just as much their responsibility to review their position of no tax increases as it is for ours to review ours.
Speaker Draper has lashed back, removing Manning and another Republican from the conference committee working out problems with the appropriations bills.
In other words, you don't disrupt the appropriations process. On the one hand, at the same time, you're supposed to be one of a select group of members who is finalizing the appropriation bills. You can't have it both ways.
To the Republicans, this is precisely the time and the issue for a compromise in the House of Representatives. But the Democratic leadership says they simply won't allow a minority to dictate the way things are run. In the meantime, the Democrats are looking for a way to pass the immediate appropriations that the conservative coalition hasn't the strength to block. Charles Schnitzer, Action 4 at the House of Representatives. At the House of Representatives.
The only correlation there really was the 28 Republicans and Morgan, Cotton, and Lancaster. All of the others that I talked to assured me they were not a part of any coalition, and that they would, even though they might vote no on some of the bills for various reasons, some of them they may oppose, they would not be a party to killing the emergency sections on the appropriation bills. Now, simply haven't had a chance to visit with yet, but I'm very hopeful that their feeling will be the same as the
Everyone knows it's easy to go in most any club or restaurant in Oklahoma and get a drink without taking in your own bottle. Likewise, everyone knows it's against the state law. In past elections, liquor by the drink has carried in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, but has been defeated statewide. Well, business leaders in our two largest cities are gearing up to test voters again. The Oklahoma City and Tulsa Chambers of Commerce are launching a petition drive to get a local option clause in the question. This way, communities who don't want liquor by the drink won't have to have it, but they could still vote to pass the measure. Oklahoma City and Tulsa say we need the new law to bring thousands of dollars worth of convention business to the state. But people who oppose liquor in Oklahoma protest that's not a valid claim.
Keep saying this at every election. I just wish they'd either put up or shut up, and they never have put up. I've challenged them during the past two elections, and I wish they would come forward and give me a list of those conventions that didn't come here. The thing is, they can't do it.
I'm just not at liberty to say, because I don't think that convention person would want it said, well, we didn't come to Oklahoma City because of your liquor laws. They wouldn't want to say that. But yet we know that's why they don't come.
But the wheels of government turn slowly, and it may be another year before voters across the state have to decide on that controversial question. Until then, both pro and con forces will be using time to win their case. Carol Lambert, Action 4 at the state capitol.
God, who does not disdain all of thy creatures, including those that creep upon the face of the earth, do thou in thy mercy bless this spider and all those of his kind whom thou hast created through Christ our Lord. Amen.
The spider is blessed and spring of his holy water in the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
God in his mercy loves his animal creation, and if we can learn to love that, then perhaps we'll learn to love our fellow man. Then when we've learned that lesson, I think automatically we'll have learned to love God. You'll all be blessing along with me.